Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are breaking down India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act. To help us make sense of it from a business perspective, I have Swati with me again. Hi, Swati. Thanks for joining. Swati is a CA and an internal audit professional. Now, since you are not a lawyer, how does CA look at a massive data like this?
First of all, thank you. Thank you, Gunnika, for having me again. Great to be here. Yes, you are exactly right. I'm not a lawyer, and I look at it this strictly through an internal auditor's lens. While lawyers focus more on legal definitions, my job is to look at compliance infrastructure, corporate risk, and process control. The DPDP Act is basically a massive operational risk framework. If you process digital personal data in India, you are now legally accountable for how it is collected, stored, and protected.
Who does this law actually apply to?
Yeah, good question. It applies to almost every business handling digital data. The Act covers personal data collected digitally or even collected on a piece of paper and then digitized later. It also applies to companies outside India if they are offering goods and services to people within India. The law calls businesses data fiduciaries because they hold persons' data in trust. The individuals whose data it is are called data principals. It's high time India should have something like this.
So, data fiduciary, got it. So, as a business, what is my absolute first obligation under this law?
Um, it is all about how you get data. The Act says you can only process personal data for lawful purposes and with clear consent. The law mandates that every request for consent must be accompanied or preceded by very clear notice. This notice has to state exactly what data are you taking and why are you processing it. It cannot be hidden in a 50-page document anymore. It must be in plain, accessible language.
What if someone changes their mind later and doesn't want a company holding their data anymore?
Yes, that can be a scenario. The law gives individual a lot of power in this act. The act explicitly states that a person has a right to withdraw their consent at any time, and doing so must be just as easy as it was giving it away. Furthermore, the act establishes a strict right to erasure. Once a user withdraws consent, or as soon as the purpose of the processing of that data is fulfilled, the business must erase that data entirely and ensure that third party processors delete it too.
Wow, that means company need to know exactly where their data is hiding across all systems.
Exactly. From an audit standpoint, if you don't have absolute visibility of your data lifecycle, you cannot comply with deletion requests. So it is a major operational vulnerability for most companies right now.
Let's talk about the heavy hitters. I read that certain companies face even strict rules under this act. Who are they?
Yes, the central government can designate certain businesses as six significant data fiduciaries based on factors like volume or sensitivity of data they process. These companies have intense compliance requirements. Under Section 10 of the Act, they're legally mandated uh, to appoint an independent data auditor carrying out periodic data audits and conduct regular data protection impact assessments.
So, which industries or specific sectors should be on a high alert for these mandatory data audits?
Think about any sector handling massive amounts of sensitive personal and financial information. Banks and fintech companies are the prime examples because they process KYC documents, bank statement, transaction histories. But it also, I think, extends heavily to the healthcare industry and telemedicine sector these days, which hold highly sensitive medical records. E-commerce giants and telecom providers are also right at the top of the list because they track user behavior, locations, and buying patterns. So if you are in banking, healthcare, healthcare, health tech, retail, or telecom, data auditing is all about to become a regular part of your corporate calendar now.
Independent data audits. That sounds right up your alley as an internal auditor. Where do you see business failing here?
Yeah, see, the biggest failure point is data sharing and collaboration. Think about it. Companies, especially bank and healthcare firms, constantly share financial data, asset valuation details, M&A due diligence documents, and employee data with third parties over unencrypted channels or clunky email chains. The Act clearly dictates that businesses must take a responsible security safeguards to prevent these data breaches. If there is a data breach during data sharing, the corporate penalties are devastating. Let me tell you this thing.
So, how do businesses fix this massive gap in data security and encrypted shareability?
Yeah, per my opinion, this is exactly where companies should be implementing the virtual data rooms, or as you say, VDRs. If you're looking at compliance from an internal audit perspective, standard cloud storage or email attachments just won't cut it out anymore under this new legal framework. A VDR provides an end-to-end encrypted ecosystem designed specifically for highly secure data shareability. When a business uses a VDR, they get absolute granular control over who sees the data, full data tracking, and instant remote revocation. This is very important of the document access. It aligns perfectly with the Act's core mandate of data protection. Essentially, it transforms data sharing from a chaotic liability into an auditable, ironclad process that guarantees a company maintains compliance during their third party exchanges.
That sounds like a vital tool, especially considering how strict this law looks. Speaking of which, what actually happens if business break these rules?
The penalties are massive. If you look at the schedule of the Act, the fines are non trivial. For instance, a failure to take reasonable security safeguards to prevent personal data breach can attract a penalty up to 250 crore. Failing to notify the Data Protection Board of India or affected users about a breach can cost up to 200 crores. So yeah, the penalty is massive. While I think it is open to legal interpretation, upon plain reading, this is what my understanding is.
250 crores. That is enough to shut down many enterprises.
Exactly. That is why data security is no longer just an IT problem. It is board level compliance risk. The government is setting up the Data Protection Board of India specifically to investigate these breaches and enforce these penalties.
Unbelievable and a very insightful information too. To wrap it all up, Swati, what is your final piece of advice for business tuning in?
My final piece of advice will be don't treat the DPDP Act as just a legal checkbox. Treat it as a structural upgrade for your operations. Start mapping out your data. Look at how you share sensitive information externally and adopt secure platforms like a VDR to safeguard the information that you share externally.
Brilliant advice, Swati. And thank you so much for breaking down the DPDP Act for us today. And to our listeners, protect your data, secure your workflows, and we will see you in the next episode. Till then, keep it to the point.
Thank you.